If you're watching this video, I'm guessing you already watched basically The Alchemist. If you haven't, please check it out because I'm going to be referencing it a lot in this video. So when does The Alchemist, written by Paulo Coelho, take place? Well, the answer is a bit unclear. Coelho had planned this to be a bit of a timeless story, but if you put the pieces together, you might get a cohesive idea on a date. And personally, I have a theory on when this book takes place, and to those who have read it, this answer might surprise you. So let's break this down. First, we know this book took place after the 8th century, considering how the book mentions the Moorish invasion of Andalusia. In fact, Andalusia itself is named after Al-Andalus, which was the Muslim-ruled area in Iberia. We also know that the latest the story could take place is 1988, the year the book was released. But that's still a millennia-long range. Surely we could do better, right? Well, we could. When the Crystal Merchant was mentioning his prime time at the shop, he talked about how French and English geologists, German soldiers, and Arab merchants would come by. Now, the idea of France and England had existed since the early Middle Ages, and Arabs had migrated into North Africa around the same time. But he also mentioned German soldiers. Now, the concept of German soldiers and Germany as a whole didn't exist until 1871, when Wilhelm I and Otto von Bismarck united Germany under the Prussian monarchy. If you want to know more about this, I made a video about the Austro-Prussian War and the Franco-Prussian War, which led to the unification of Germany. So now that has narrowed it down from 1,000 years to 100 years. But we could still do a bit better. The Crystal Merchant had lived in Tangier, which is part of Morocco. In the early 1900s, two conflicts took place in Morocco, the Moroccan Crisis and the Agadir Crisis. Essentially, this was Germany challenging France's influence in the region. We know the merchant had been in business for 30 years, but it's possible that he didn't spend exactly 30 years and could have rounded up or down, setting it anywhere between 1905 to 1946. Later, we see the Englishman pull out a chrome-plated revolver, which was created around the 1920s. So now we know the story takes place between the 1920s and 1946. And last but not least, there's the Bedouin War. Was there a conflict in the 20th century that took place between these tribes? There was. Kind of. In 1940, Axis forces crossed from Libya into Egypt, causing a 3-year-long struggle between the British, the Germans, and the Italians, between 1940 and 1942. And the Bedouins played a part on both sides of the conflict. This was the Western Desert Campaign, a part of the North African Front in World War II, where the Bedouins were split into two different factions under two major powers, leading to conflict like we saw in the book. Now, since the conflict had started by the time Santiago arrived in Al-Fayoum, that would be around 1940. Going backwards, since Santiago spent 1 year in Tangier, that means he arrived in 1939. I know many people would put The Alchemist somewhere between the 16th to 19th century, but I personally think that this story took place in World War II, specifically between 1939 to 1941. Could I be wrong? Possibly, if not most likely, as there are many holes in this theory. But personally, this is my best assumption over the timeline. I'm at least 100% confident that the story took place somewhere between the 20s and 40s, but either way, this is my personal timeline theory of The Alchemist. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and thanks for watching.